Hey there, audio friends. MrAyrit here with another review for you today. This time we're talking about the Fosi GR70. This is a tube amp from Fosi. I don't know a ton about it. They sent it out to me for free. I do get to keep it, just to be upfront and transparent. And I've had this thing for 2 or 3 months at this point, and I've kind of been going on and off, with it, giving it a try here and there. And this last time around, I really put it through its paces. I used a couple of headphones. I used the Meze 105 Silvas, which are one of my new favorites. And then I used the good old 6XX, right, with the tube amp. Of course, you're going to try the 6XX if you got one on hand, right? And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I found out. Now, when I was reviewing this and when I was doing my critical listening this last time around, I also went back and forth with my Valley 2, right, which is kind of my, I don't know, it's just the tube amp that I've had on hand forever at this point in time. So we'll kind of do some comparisons with that along the way here. So what is the GR70? I think is first of all what we need to talk about. It is a tube amp, and they say it is pure tube amplification. So they've got a couple of sets of tubes here, right? You've got this 6.4 tube in the back. I don't know much about those. I haven't really seen those very much. So these are tubes back here. And then up front, you've got the 5654 Ws, which are, kind of like the cheap tube that you see in a lot of these Chinese amplifiers. That's not to say they're bad, but, just it's a smaller tube, okay? Whereas the Valley 2 uses solid stage for its main amplification, and then it's got just like a tube stage as well to add a little bit of flavor to it, right? And this uses kind of the larger, I'm not sure off the top of my head what they are, right? But it's like 6992s or something like that. Okay, but so a little bit different landscape as far as the amplification goes. Now, power rating for the GR70 is it can get up to like 1.2 watts, depending on your headphone impedance. I found it to play pretty nicely with anything I tried it with, from everything from, like I said, the 6XS, which is 300 ohms, to the Meze 105s, which is a pretty low power headphone, to the HE1000 SE, which doesn't require a ton of power, but again is planar magnetic. So I did try that out, even though I didn't do my main kind of testing with it. Looking at the unit here, you've got the two sets of tubes on top as well as the volume knob. The volume knob here, this is how you turn it on. So there's like a built-in power kind of initially when you turn on. Not great knob feel, but it's okay. I didn't find it to have a ton of volume. So a lot of times I was running this mainly out of my Element 4, right? And so I would kind of tweak both knobs to get it, working right with the headphone that I was using. On the front, you've got high Z, low Z switch, which is cool. And then you've got kind of treble and bass, so you can tweak those if you want. I don't tend to use those a lot, but it's there if you want to play with it. And then you've got a 1/4 inch and a 3.5. So I kind of appreciate just that they've got both of those options. No balance here, though, which that would have been nice to have as well. But being how this is kind of like an old school tube amplifier, like I suppose that's all right. Around the back, you just got RCA in, RC out, and a 12-volt in. So pretty simple device. I don't really have any complaints about the build or how it works, how it functions, anything like that. I thought all that was totally fine. Again, a balanced, even a balance like a 4.4, even if it wasn't an actual balanced input or headphone output, I think would be nice just for convenience purposes. Let's dive into sound here then, and I think I can sum this up like pretty easily and quickly. Like, number one, I really enjoyed my time with the GR70 once I swapped the little tubes out, right? So it comes with like these ones that you find on Amazon. They're like the first thing that comes up if you look for a 5654 tube, like Riverstone or Riverside or something like that. So these are a pretty generic tube it comes with, and I just don't like these tubes. I really have never liked them with like any amplifier I've tried them in. I find them to be very boring and kind of flat sounding. Okay, so I didn't really like it with this, but I'm not blaming the amp. I'm blaming these tubes. What I have in there are these Mullards that I bought off of eBay a few years ago, and I just had lying around. But I remember really liking these in a little dot, and so when I didn't like this amp, I thought, let's try those Mullards in there. And once I put them in, it was like, boom. Way more lively, way more presence, way more fun of an amp to listen to. So I would not recommend it with the stock tubes, but if you don't mind spending another like $30 on tubes, I can get this thing up to a pretty good presentation. Now, it is a very tubey presentation still. I found it to be, when I was listening with the 6XX, I did high Z and low Z, and I found it on high Z, it was very thick, very rich, kind of all those things you like people tend to associate with like tube amps. Not to the point where it wasn't enjoyable, because it still was, but definitely wasn't the like most accurate presentation in the world. You switch down to low Z, I found that it kind of cleaned up a little bit, but you also lost some of that kind of like thick, gooey richness that's kind of fun about a tube amp, right? It always seemed to me when I would go to the Valley 2 that the Valley 2 was probably like a more accurate, it was more solid statey, right? Like it just seemed to do kind of like separation, space, technical things a little bit better. Also didn't add the same kind of like thickness and warmth that the GR70 adds to it. So I think like what I'm saying here, and I found this to be similar but to lesser effect on the Meze 105s, right? Like it's pretty noticeable on the 6XS. 105s, a little bit less noticeable. Still sounds good. I, like I said, really enjoyed using the GR70, and I think what I like about it is that it is so different and thick and rich, but still okay technically. You know, like I didn't feel like I was really missing anything, but it is a sound that you kind of have to settle into a little bit more. Once you settle into it, though, it's very enjoyable, very easy to listen to, and just kind of fun and different, right? So I guess where I'm at with it is if you're like me and you kind of have like a daily driver solid state, which is mine, is the JDS Labs Element 4, then the GR70 is a great pairing because it is quite different, right? Whereas something like the Valley 2, and I'm running a JJ Gold tube in this guy, something like this, like, while I tend to like this amp quite a bit, it's just way more, in my mind, solid state than it is tube. So I thought these headphones both sounded good on this, and there were some songs that I liked better. But overall, I think I enjoyed my time with just the GR70 more, just because it is more different and tubey. And I think that makes it just kind of like a fun alternative to have. Whereas like, so if I already have a solid state and I'm only going to use the tube amp occasionally, then I'd go for the GR70. If you want to have just one amp, right, and you want some tubiness in there, then I think something like the Valley 2 was better for me, like as far as just like an overall cohesive listen. But again, I kind of like having the option of going like way different and going thick and syrupy and just fun with the GR70. I think is a great option to have if you've got some headphones around like the Sens or like a Meze dynamic driver stuff where like it's going to be a noticeable difference. So I really enjoyed the GR70. I'm going to keep it, you know. Fosi sent it to me. I didn't pay anything for it, but like if I didn't like it, I would just sell it, you know. But I'm going to keep it, and it's going to live on my desk for right now anyway. And I think that tells you that it's a pretty good amp and it's fun, right? Because I wouldn't give it the time of day if it wasn't. So thank you, Fosi, for sending this out. Appreciate it. I think you got a good little amp on your hands here that I think people that are wanting to kind of dip into the all-tube, realm, I think it's a good spot to do it. That being said, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you, Fosi, for sending it out. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.